What's up, sports fans? What's up, world? This is MC Run with his co-host.
Is Kenneth.
And we are keeping it 10 toes down. We are the sports podcast that always keeps it real about sports talk. And I hope everybody had a great 4th of July. I hope you saw all the fireworks, and just celebrating, Yeah, ate some good burgers and hot dogs and all that good stuff. Had that good stuff on the grill. And some of you might even have some ribs. But yes, we are recording this podcast. Well, technically re-recording this podcast after Independence Day, July 6th, 2024 at 11:48 a.m. Ooh, and a lot of things have happened since we last recorded the podcast. The NBA draft and NBA free agency has been going crazy. So we're gonna begin right there with the NBA draft. So KJ, how did you feel about this NBA draft?
Like I was saying in the past podcast, it's kind of it looked to be a weak draft, but maybe there is some bright spots and highlights sprinkled throughout this draft. First and foremost, I actually did like the fact that it was a 2-day thing. Not only did it give me something to do, but I didn't mind it. I didn't feel like it was too much, or maybe they should go back to having everything in a day. But yeah, I like that. But as far as the talent sprinkled through, obviously you have the first overall pick, and Zachary Richtershey, Mr. Work Sauce. 6'9", 200-pound Frenchman. Then you got another Frenchman drafted after him, and Alex Sarr. It was like 3, 4, 5, 6 Frenchmen drafted in this draft. You have players like Rob Dillingham getting traded to the Timberwolves.
Yeah, to the Timberwolves.
Man, that combination between him and Anthony Edwards is going to be nasty, because both of these players are kind of shot makers, shot creators, but one is more finesse, and Rob Dillingham, he will score from any point of the court. And then you have Anthony Edwards, who we see what he can do. He's the one that likes to drive to the paint and dunk on everybody's head and get the crowd going and everything like that. So you pair him with you pair power with finesse, and really both of them can do a little bit of both. I think they have a good little core going forward. My boy Zach Edey going to Memphis. I guess him and Jared Jackson might be all right, but I mean, I guess.
Hey, they still got a job there.
Yeah, they do, but what they gonna do with Zach Edey, and what is Zach Edey gonna do with them? I don't know. We're gonna see.
He's gonna be their Steven Adams replacement.
But he is nowhere near Steven Adams. Steven Adams could take a car and bend it in half with his okay? That is Aquaman on the basketball court. Zach Edey looked more like Kung Fu Panda, but we'll see.
Well, in this draft, of course, I love it. I gotta give a shout.
Wait, to my last point, you know what I'm saying? You got all the Nicolas and all the Opiches and stuff like that. And what I mean by that is, you got players drafted at number 12, like Nikola Topic, going to out of Serbia, going to the Thunder. We already have players like Nikola Jokic. Who else do we have?
I think, last year,
Jokic just got drafted last year by the Heat, I believe.
Yep.
Man, but yeah.
Also, you had Nikola Durincic that got drafted in the second round this year, 43 to the Heat. They got another Nikola.
They got two Nicholas.
Well, first things first. We know that Nikola is a very popular name in in Serbia. First of all,
That's
that's
the original jock name.
exactly.
Like Brad.
Exactly. It's like basically Chris here, like a name like Chris here in America. I know about, once again, 72 different Chris's. But first things first, I got to shout out to my Wizards. 3 first-round picks. I was shocked. We were making trades, trying to make things happen. Getting the consensus. A lot of people felt like that was the consensus number 1 overall pick in Alex Sarr, and then
I thought that's who the Hawks should have took.
And then we drafted for Bub Carrington because we need a starting point guard desperately. So we drafted, I think, 2 guards in Bub Carrington and I think it was Keyshawn George from Miami. So yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with my Wizards. We're in a rebuilding mode, so of course we got to get as many first round picks as possible. So I'm glad we traded up into the first round because, in general, with the second rounders, unless I understand you have your Nikola Jokic's, you have second round picks like your Isaiah Thomases, your Draymond Greens that turn out to be really good players. Really, in Jokic's case, a Hall of Fame level player, but that doesn't happen. That doesn't really happen, because the second round in basketball, picking the second round is like is the equivalent of picking like a 6th or 7th rounder in football. You don't really expect them to actually really, be like superstars. You probably expect them to be contributors, but like really, But so yeah, I'm glad we got 3 first round picks. But here's a player that of everybody in this draft, I believe has one of the best. I'm not gonna say the best, but he basically has one of the greatest chances to be a successful player, and not just be a successful player, be an all-star level player, all-star to star level player, and that player is the 4th overall. Drafted 4th overall, Stephon Castle out of UConn. He got drafted by the Spurs. Because you're going to, once again, going to the Spurs organization. We see that Wemby went to the Spurs. We saw instantly, bam. He's an instant success. That's because you have the infrastructure of, we've compared the Spurs to the Patriots with Bill Belichick and how they have that nice solid infrastructure where they'll bring a player in and that player will have the greatest opportunity for success. Same thing once again with Wemby, and now they got Stephon Castle, which because they needed a point guard because nobody was getting Wemby the basketball, and now I know we're going to talk about a little bit about it when we talk about free agency, but now that they got Chris Paul. Stephon Castle has a mentor to cut and what better point guard mentor than a Chris Paul? Now Stephon Castle has a mentor. He has a solid infrastructure around him. I can see him being like the best player out of this class, like when it's all said and done in 5-10 years. I can see it happening because of the situation he was drafted in. Unlike, Zachary, Richest, whatever, ZR,
Zach Rich.
Yeah, Zach Ritchie. Unlike, Alex Sarr went to my Wizards. We aren't a very good infrastructure type team. Haven't been.
But I do like that y'all have him next to Kuzma. So that's a pretty big. Yeah. It looks like the league is going towards bigger front courts or bigger backcourt. Yeah, bigger front courts. Especially with all these Eiffel Towers that were being put on conveyor belts.
Well, they got Alex Sarr listed as a power forward. So mainly, and we just got we got Jonas Valanciunas
Right.
as well.
He's another 7-footer.
So we might be paired.
Kuzma is how tall? Like 6'10", 6'9"?
Yeah, 6'9", 6'10".
But to your point with the Spurs drafting Stephon Castle, it is really good that he has like mentorship and Pop and Chris Paul and everything like that. Because if you have Wemby, who is a do-it-all 7-footer, literally a do-it-all 7-footer, you putting him with a defensive-minded playmaking point guard, that sounds like synergy to me. I don't know.
But yeah, I'm just saying, don't be surprised if Stephon. We're saying Stephon Cat. I'm not saying he is the best player at his grade, or he's going to be. But I would not be surprised if 5-10 years from now we're saying that he is. But yeah, also just one last point. Yeah, what is with all these Frenchmen getting drafted? Like I'm like, is France really like that? Like
you like that?
Yeah. Like, do we have to?
Metro Boomin trust France.
Exactly.
Like it.
Is they like are we just speaking on the Olympic side of things? Team USA looks like we got to watch out, because all these Frenchmen getting drafted. A Frenchman got drafted number 1 this year, then number 1 last year. Honestly, we also drafted another Frenchman in Bilal Kalabai last year as well, 7th overall. So like, is France really like that in basketball? I'm beginning to think like.
I'm gonna throw in.
But yeah,
he's really not a great player. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in Killian Hayes, Frenchman, point guard. He went to my Detroit Pistons, and thank God he's no longer with us. He's still alive. Thank God he's still alive, and he was just no longer with the team.
Definitely, but let's talk about the most popular draft pick, even though he was a second rounder, a late second rounder. LeBron James has been drafted to the NBA. No, not the LeBron James we're all thinking about. LeBron James Jr., Bronny James, was drafted 55th overall to the Lakers. Like I said, the pick that got the most coverage out of anybody. And it's crazy that a second round pick got this much coverage and this much exposure. But once again, who's his dad? The face of the NBA. All right. But so KJ, how do you feel about Bronny James being drafted?
Well, first of all, I'm glad that they didn't Nikola Jokic him, because they were on commercial, but they cut that thing real quick. And you saw Buddy on the podium, and he looked at us dead in our eyes and was like, Bronny James. A part of me was kind of nervous. I was like, oh man, like he's the Lakers were the 4th from last. And I was like, oh man, like what if like controversy happens and the Warriors pick him at 52, or even worse, the Celtics hold him at 54 and hold him for ransom. Is like, okay, you gotta give us Anthony Davis for your son.
Yes, we have your son. Sorry. Go ahead.
We have your son. This is our ransom. But I mean, that's an amazing moment, bro. Like, there are a lot of people who are mad. They're saying like, oh, it's rigged. LeBron James made the league pass up on. Well, first of all, it's kind of contradictory, because some people are saying he made the league pass up on LeBron James Jr. so that he could draft his son. But then you have the other side of people, or maybe some of them same people are saying it's nepotism. You know what I'm saying? Bronny James is not that good. He's only getting drafted because LeBron James. 1, maybe. 2, maybe. 3, if you were LeBron James and you had that type of power, would you not draft your son and play with him? All right, shut up.
Yeah, true. That's been LeBron's plan.
That's been LeBron's plan, and we knew it. So now that it's finally happened, people are mad. Now people want to be outraged. It's like, was this built in? Why y'all wasn't saying this back then? Y'all was actually, they were denying it. They were like, oh, it's never going to happen, blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And now that it happened, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it happened. But y'all been saw it. Y'all just weren't, y'all were in denial. But really, honestly, I love it, man. People don't like JJ Redick coming in to coach either. But I think you have LeBron James, who obviously has been running the Lakers since he got there. under the table. You got
More or
LeBron
less.
James, huh?
I said more or less.
More or less, maybe like 45%, 45, 55. But you got LeBron James who wanted his son. His son had a lot of not controversy, but a lot of mishaps in college with the whole heart thing and everything. But he came back, played some games. He averaged like 4-3 or something like that. I don't know. But you have a new player in Bronny James. You have a coach in JJ Redick who may not have experience, but I think we can all agree he knows what he's talking about. He may have never coached on major levels before, but he's clearly on the same page as LeBron James. And when you think about a coach and a star player, the star player is nothing but an extension of the coach on the court. So if they already have the same mind in what they want to do, and then you have a player who can go out and execute that, then I think that not only aids in the development of the scheme that y'all are trying to run, but it also allows continuity to be built for the future, because yes, you have unproven players like Lakers like JJ Redick and Bronny James, but future wise, that's going to be really good, because not only does look at Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr had a great roster, right? He may have known some X's and O's and stuff like that, but Steve Kerr ain't never coached. We was only on Steve Kerr because he was with Jordan. So we was like, okay, they gave him a chance. He had a good team.
Though I believe he was I think he was an assistant coach for the Spurs, though.
Might have been for sure. But at the same time, he had a good team around him, and not only was he able to coach these players, but he was also, they took a lot of pressure off of him and their greatness, because he was able to get his feet wet in the head coaching situation. So I think that's going to be more so what JJ Redick is going to do. And they already added Nate McMillan and Scott Brooks, I believe, to their to their coaching staff. So they have a lot of continuity. And I think that's, we're not expecting anything from Bronny. So I think he just signed a 4-year, $8 million deal. It's really 7.9, but I'm gonna round it to 8. 4-year, $8 million deal. You don't expect him to be one of those kids who run off with money and go crazy and act a fool and get porn stars and strippers pregnant. That is LeBron James. He comes from money, okay?
Yeah.
But you also don't expect him to play well. A lot of people didn't even expect him to be drafted. So he has nothing but time to rehab and hone his skills and craft and mold himself into the player that he wants to be, alongside a coach who wants to do the same thing. I love him.
I have, with Bronny getting drafted, nepotism has been prevalent in sports everywhere. I mean, let's use the NBA for example. Why does Thanasis Antetokounmpo still have a job? Still on an NBA team. It's not because he's good. It's because he's on the Bucks because Giannis wants his brother on the Bucks. All right, that's point blank, just period. All right, we can go once again. We can go to football. Brandon Rice. He got drafted in the 7th round. Now, why do you think he got drafted in the 7th round? I mean, him being drafted in the 7th round, just late in the 7th round, just told me, or middle, it was the middle late. Either way, him getting drafted that late tells me that a lot of teams didn't even have him on their draft board. But guess what? Guess why he got drafted? His dad's Jerry Rice. He might have something. Just saying. I mean, there's countless examples of nepotism happening in sports. Like, either a son, a brother, a cousin, they get those opportunities because, hey, your father was this. Okay, you might be as good as this person, or you might be as good as your brother. Like, so that's why. Think of Austin Rivers. He would. Austin Rivers was a top 10 pick.
Hey.
Now, and he literally got on the Clippers because remember, he was picked up in free agency on the Clippers to join Doc Rivers' team, to join his dad's team. Like, the reason why Austin Rivers got the looks he did because Doc Rivers was his dad.
And let me give you another guard, Jalen Brunson. Why is he on the Knicks right now? Because when he left the Knicks, what were we saying when he left the Mavs, what were we saying that the Mavs, what Luka needed? A second option, a scoring guard. But so why would they give that up? But where did he end up going? To the Knicks. Where his daddy is an executive.
Yeah.
Literally the same offseason.
So yeah, all it is just people. Let's call it this. It's LeBron hate. It is LeBron hate. You are transferring your hate for LeBron to the hate to your hate for his son, and that's so weird and backwards, and just like I'm like, why? Like, you hate this man LeBron so much that you want to transfer the hate that you have for him to his son when his son didn't ask for any of this. He's just playing the cards that he's dealt. And yes, sometimes people just like in any card game, sometimes for those of you space players that are out there or whatever card game you play, sometimes you just have a great hand. Sometimes you get dealt a great hand. But you still have to play those. You still have to play it. It's not your fault. It's just the way. Just once again, the way the cookie crumbles. And yes, was it a little bit because of nepotism? Yes, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to completely say that. Bronny got the opportunities or he got the looks that he did completely because, completely on his own merits. Let's be honest. He did get the looks that, because, LeBron James is his dad and LeBron James is still playing in the league and LeBron James is still playing at the league at a high level and he's still the face of the NBA. So he's going to get those looks. It's just once again, it's just the way things go. But to say that you hate him because of that, or to say that the hope that he fails,
right?
Like I'm like, bro, like why are y'all rooting against a kid that's like 19 years old that like literally died and came back to life?
Right.
Like, dude, like what kind of messed up in the head? Like I'm like, the dude had a cardiac arrest. And now I hope he fails. Like what?
But you know what though?
Also, sorry, KJ. One more point. Yeah. And people also talk about the reason why he was not drafted because they bring up all his stats. Do you understand that a guy like Russell Westbrook, like his freshman year, he averaged 4 points? Because I understand he averaged more his sophomore year, but Bronny didn't stay past his freshman year. There have been countless of NBA players that did not put up huge numbers in college. But because they had the skill set, they looked at because the skill set, athleticism, what they provided, with their skill set and athleticism, they were able to be drafted, some in the first round. So, yeah, but go ahead, KJ.
Well, to your point, though, I mean, if we're talking about people drafted in the second round and then players drafted late in the second round. When we're looking for second rounders, we're looking for potential. We're looking for role players. We're looking for somebody we're giving a shot because they might have something, right? And a lot of those players get in the league and stay in the league. Why? Because they hustle, they play defense, and they do other things that you might necessarily need from your team. You know what I'm saying? And when we looking at LeBron James Jr., when we looking at Bronny, I mean his greatest skills right now are defensive. He's a wing defender. he's really a great defensive player, but he's really good guarding the perimeter, is what I'm trying to say. And he can handle the ball a little bit and everything like that. He can shoot the three at a pretty decent clip. So, I mean, what are we debating here? Sports world. I don't see the uproar. Now, if he got drafted at what did the Lakers have? Like 17? If he got drafted in the first round, then we're like, okay, we're reaching. We are obviously reaching, and there is no quarterback on this market. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down. But instead of reaching and drafting him and really having nepotism in the first round, they took LeBron James. They drafted Bronny in the second, and then they are going to take that and then the future and connect them together with Dalton Connect.
Let's go.
I love it because people were talking about Dalton Connect too. How early on in the season, at Tennessee, his numbers wasn't showy. But later in the season, he ended up bumping all of those up, and he's like 23. So you already know he's probably more mature and
more pro ready.
Yeah, and more pro ready is what I'm trying to say. Thank you for that. So that's what the Lakers need, and they also needed a forward because I think they lost Taurean Prince. So let's get it.
Exactly, and that's the ultimate point. That if Bronny was drafted, we are like late second rounders. Once again, are the equivalent of a late seventh rounder in, of a seventh rounder, late seventh rounder in football. You don't expect those. You don't expect that to. So with those players to they're just guys you just pick and let's just take a chance on. That's literally like if you go if you go into look at football, look at the draft grades of everybody in the seventh rounder, like a few of the players in the seventh rounders. You see some people like 40 overall grades, like 50 overall grades, like stuff like that. You can tell that teams just like, hey, let's just take a chance on them. And that's that's the equivalent of a late second rounder in basketball. Hey, let's just take a chance on Bronny. If he's good, we look great. If he doesn't look good, who cares? At the end of the day, it was a throwaway pick. Not really a throwaway pick, but you understand what I'm saying. But speaking of LeBron James, Senior, not Junior, this man LeBron James has been extended by the Lakers. And guess what, y'all? If you thought he was taking a pay cut, hell no! This man did not take no type of pay cut. He says, I'm LeBron James. I still made the All-NBA team at 55 years old. I need to be a max player. And this man got a 2-year, $104 million contract extension. Well, contract. So, KJ, how do you feel about this?
Man, I just knew LeBron was going to take a pay cut. And when he got $100 million contract, I'm like, $50 million a year, Brian? That's a little steep. But based off when he got that contract, if you were looking around the league, a lot of the players that the Lakers were looking at were already bought up. We were just talking about in the draft how your Wizards got Valanciunas.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely could have used the center and moved Anthony Davis to his natural 4. You know what I'm saying? So I think at the price point that you would get any other free agent, maybe you got to spend the money anyway, so you might as well give it to LeBron. If you're not going, you're not going to overpay for like Van Vliet. You're not going to give him $30 million a year.
Definitely.
So I'm like, I guess, but I'm still like, dang, man, because there's a lot of, we're going to get to some of them players later on, but there's a lot of players I was like, oh, I know they would fit perfectly with the Lakers. But Seeing as that everybody went somewhere else, is that a mark against the Lakers? Does nobody want to go play with LeBron? Do they not believe in Bronny and JJ?
Well, we've talked about the decline of the Lakers in our last podcast. I mean, this is just more proof to that, and also that like they don't want to be under the. I guess they don't want to because we know with the Lakers, like Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka are just like the faces, but we feel like the people who are really making the moves with the Lakers organization is LeBron James and Rich Paul. But that's neither here nor there. But first and foremost, I felt this was coming. Like people who are outraged, like I thought LeBron's going to take a pay cut. I'm like, LeBron taking a pay cut. I don't know about that, especially because the reason why LeBron doesn't take pay cuts is because of the kind of position of power that he's placed in the NBA. He's still the face of the league, and like especially with the players. You know, the players always want to make sure that, and I'm not excusing this whatsoever because he should have taken a pay cut anyway. But this is like the rationale. This is the rationale behind in LeBron's mind the reason why him still getting a max pay, still getting a max contract is a good thing. This is LeBron logic. This isn't how I actually feel, but. Because of once again the position that he's in, the power that he has, he cannot. Now he's the face of the league, and he's also the face of the players. I think he's also no. I think that's Chris Paul, still the leader of the Players Association. But anyway, but yeah, if the players always want to make sure they're getting, more and more money, getting their max contracts, not getting shortchanged by owners, basically not ending up like how these NFL players are, how they get $100 million contract, but only like $35 million of it's guaranteed. All right, if he wants to make sure that doesn't happen for the rest of the NBA players, him being the face of the NBA and being the face of the NBA players, I can't take no pay cut. I will not.
I also think there's something in the league that kind of says if you make a certain amount of money, you can't take less than a certain threshold. I believe that's also kind of why players don't just take like, oh, well, I just wanted to get a championship. Let me get $1 million this year.
But reality-wise, LeBron wants his money. But anyway, but yeah.
Minimum, honestly.
Yeah.
If he was about it for real, but
Lakers are going to be a playing team anyway, and then losing the first round. Yeah. Anyway, but let's get to this free agency talk, man. Let's get to these free agency talk. Also, by the way, just a little side note here. Your girl Andrew Weiss just had her 12th straight double. She had like 27 points in how many
record?
Yeah.
That's a record. Shout out to Angel.
Oh, crap.
Well, somehow she's not winning in the Rookie of the Year debate. Obviously, it's
let's listen, man. I don't want to make this an Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark thing, but I mean, let's be honest. Caitlin Clark is the more popular player. Honestly, in my opinion, she's the better player. But the main thing, and her popularity, and really the major overarching thing is her popularity and how she's all over the NBA and all that stuff, and how the WNBA, and really the sports media is always pushing her. So of course, that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, at this point, because people have what they believe about Angel Reese. That, hey, a lot of her points and rebounds come off of her own misses. How, even though I can show you statistically, like let's talk about shooting percentages and all that, where Anyway, I don't want to be nitpicky and all that. I don't.
But we talk
It's
about the playoffs anyway too. So not the playoffs, the free agency anyway too. So
yeah,
it is.
yeah. But just Clayton Clark is going to win Rookie of the Year. Now, I want to see Andrew Reese win Rookie of the Year, just for my own sick pleasure, just to watch like the whole world just explode. I just love seeing. It's just like, oh my god, I can't believe you didn't win. Yeah, I really want to see that. Like, I really do. So I could just laugh at it, but I'm not. Oh, now you see, now I'm imagining. Okay, let's talk about this free agency. Let's talk about this free agency. So let's talk with the first big move of free agency. Well, probably not the first big move, but anyway, the first big move we're going to talk about in free agency is the Mavs acquiring Klay Thompson. Yes, the Splash Brothers era is over in Golden State. So, KJ, how do you feel about the Mavs getting Klay?
Hey, Klay said he was fed up with Golden State. He said he watched y'all give all these players all of this money. I understand y'all gave me one big contract, but where's my second? Take care of me, because I won y'all championships too. He said he felt disrespected. So instead of taking, what was it, 2 years, $48 million from Golden State, he accepted 3 years, $50 million from Dallas. So that's technically a lesser contract, even though it's $2 million more. Yearly, it's less.
Yeah.
I'm calling him a traitor. I am calling him a traitor. Benedict Arnold.
An op.
An op. Klay Thompson, you are an op. Yep.
Like Patrick Queen. Op.
Man, cause okay, thank you for it was a 3-team trade, so the Mavs had to send us Josh Green, whoever that is. But why you ain't go to the Lakers? You, AD, and LeBron would have been devastating. Devastating. Do you hear me, bro? Oh man, I'm kind of sad. But getting off the Laker talk, him and the Mavs, him, Kyrie, and Luka, that's just 3 points. That's just scoring galore. And then you still got 3 big men you got to worry about. 4 big men, because I don't even think Maxi Kleber played in the playoffs. So really, if we're keeping it above, you don't need Klay Thompson to start either. Because we saw last year when he didn't start, I think he scored in a few games he was coming off the bench. He averaged like 20 points. I remember like two straight games, bro. He was going off in the first half. Off. So, I don't know. I think it's good. Do I think it moves the needle for them? No. That would have been a needle mover for the Lakers, but not for the Mavs. But it's cool.
I don't think it would have been a needle mover for the Lakers either. But anyway, how do I feel about this trade? Well, they lost Derrick Jones Jr., which honestly affects their defense. And you're replacing it with a Klay Thompson who honestly post ACL tear, and then he had the basically post ACL and Achilles injuries, has not been the same Klay Thompson we saw, from 2014 and 2019. Like that, if you're telling me you're getting that Klay Thompson, oh, that is definitely a needle mover for the Mavs, and really a needle mover for any team. But we're not getting that Klay Thompson. You're not. I know there's a whole bunch of jokes online, saying, Klay Thompson went 0 for 10 in an elimination game, because he went 0 for 10 against in the play-in game, but still, you're not getting that Klay Thompson. You're getting the Klay Thompson nearing the end of his career, and I don't know. It'll still help space the floor, still help with 3-point shooting and all that. However, your weakness, honestly, one of the biggest weaknesses for the Mavs was defensively. How especially in the finals, how the Dallas Mavericks, how the Boston Celtics were able just to pick and roll Luka and Kyrie to death because they were able to put 5 guys on the floor that can dribble, pass, and shoot, which means you had to legitimately guard all 5 positions, which means you could not guard Luka or Kyrie because throughout the West they were able to somewhat hide. Not saying that Luka is a bad defender because I have maintained the fact that Luka is not he's not as bad on defense as people think he is.
Still bad.
However, when you get a guy like a Jason Tatum, like a Jaylen Brown, and you put Luka on him, what was one of the weaknesses that he had coming out of the draft? He's slow of foot, and that might harm him on the defensive end. Still, those same weakness is still there, and the Boston Celtics abused it. Not just with those two, but especially with Jaylen Brown. How I just saw him just take Luka to the rack every single time. But yeah.
But you're still in Klay Thompson. You're still getting a player who, like, shooting wise, he can still play defense, and shooting wise, he's still better than most of the league. So even though he's not Game 6 Klay,
yeah,
his play still pretty scary. That's almost like Hoodie Mellow from what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I saw this picture and Sports Center nearly got. I just saw the picture of John Morant and then Draymond Green like in a Grizzly jersey next. I was like, "What did Grizzlies get?" But then I read the post. I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, Sports Center, don't scare me like that. Like I'm about to do a breaking news. I was about 2 seconds to be like, "Hey, KJ, we got breaking news! Draymond Green is on the Grizzlies." I mean, it would be a good fit. I mean, the Grindhouse, like, honestly, he would be a perfect man. Draymond Green would have been perfect for the Grit and Grind Grizzlies. But anyway, but yeah, back on to Klay Thompson. He's just not the defender that he once was. I don't know. I don't think it necessarily. It may move the needle for them a little bit, but I don't think. Like, I can't tell you. Like right now, if them and the Boston Celtics went at it again, I still believe the Celtics win in 6 because there's no. Yeah, I still think Celtics. I think Celtics still win in 6 because move the needle means that they would have to beat the Celtics, and I don't think that move by itself is not enough. But
if they got
let's
the next guy, that would be a move to make them beat the Celtics. But let's go ahead and talk about him.
Huh? Oh, let's talk about the 76ers because they did a lot. They've been doing a lot in this offseason.
The guy that I was talking about who was on the Mavericks radar that would have moved the needle for them is Paul George.
Exactly.
Man.
And guess who got Paul George? The Philadelphia 76ers. They traded for him, right?
No.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I forgot because he opted. Huh?
He signed a 4-year, $212 max.
Whoo!
Yeah. So I don't know if the Mavs might have had enough to pay. I don't know if anybody but the Sixers would have had enough to pay Paul George. Maybe the Warriors, but I'm kind of sad to see my boy. That's another. Yeah, I'm kind of sad to see my boy go over there because, just like CP3 going to San Antonio, his career is going to. But on the bright side, the Sixers have the 3rd best odds to win the East. Honestly, if we're being a buck, I don't know. I think they had the 3rd best odds to win the East last year as well. So maybe this wasn't a needle mover for them, but it might be. But I mean, people might be down on this move because, oh my God, Paul George is older. He's way off P. He's injured.
Injury prone.
Injury prone. Last year he played 74 games, and in them 74 games he was 23-5-3. That sounds good to me. And he's always tops of defensive player of the year award, especially in the category steals. That's his bread and butter right there. So, and the Sixers getting Paul George, they get a guy who can kind of. They don't get like the prototypical point guard guy who can like facilitate and all of that, but they still get a glue guy. They get a team stabilizer between Maxey and Embiid. Somebody who can take the pressure off of Maxey and really take some pressure off them knees from Embiid. And really, both of them take the pressure off of Paul George too, because Paul George, it does get hurt. He is up there, so I guess they're going for more of a team-oriented play style than superstars galore. Even though I do consider Paul George a superstar. He is a superstar in my eyes, man. Man, what? As long as that man play on an Olympic team.
He's always had superstar potential, but not superstar play, in my opinion. But that's
I'm gonna blame LeBron for that one, but we can put a pin in that for another topic for another podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, and go ahead.
No, I'll let you finish your point.
What is it? I'll keep talking about the Sixers. Like, outside of getting Paul George, like my host said, they've been making a whole lot of moves. Like, they just re-signed Maxey to a 5-year, $204 million extension. And they got and they got Andre Drummond for 2 years, $10 million.
Don't forget Caleb Martin.
I'm getting there. Oh man, that's low key scary. I gotta see it work, but it's low key scary. Eric Gordon don't put fear in my eyes, but it makes them scarier. And then you gonna put Caleb Martin on top of that? Honestly, at this point, they might have the second best odds to win it. I don't know if they're gonna beat the Celtics. They could if everybody's healthy, but I don't bank on it. But they look good. What you think?
You're really like putting your faith in the health of Paul George of Paul George and Joel Embiid. And yes, he started a lot. Yes, he did start a lot of the games last season. But what about the season before that? The season before that, and the season before that? Just because he had one, like. As the Stephen A says, the dead clock is right twice a day. So there might be over these last 5 years, Paul George has shown that yes, he's been inconsistent when it comes to him staying healthy. I'm not saying where you have one season where he's fully healthy, he plays like 75 plus games. Then you have another season where I'm hurt. And then so that same, but in Joel Embiid, his injury history, once again, same thing, inconsistent, probably a lot less consistent than Paul George. But yeah, so I'm banking on them being consistently healthy, and once again, I'm basically rolling the dice with those two, I may come up snake eyes. I may get lucky sevens. I don't know. I do like the move of re-signing Maxey. He's a guy that the guy that made James Harden expendable. Ultimately, because that's how good good Maxey is, and that's how well he's improved. That he made a James Harden expendable. And also re-signing my guy Kelly Oubre as well. So I like a lot of the moves. If the Sixers stay healthy, yes, I think it's between them, Boston, and the Knicks about who's going to come out the East. it's gonna be a fight. It's definitely gonna be a fight. But
Go ahead.
the only thing is can they stay healthy? And is this Paul George move just another James Harden type move? What I mean is because same sort of situation. James Harden had like injury history. Like, is he gonna remain healthy? Because before he came to the Sixers with Brooklyn, and he was getting hurt, so he had injury questions. Also, a guy that a lot of people is famous for underperforming in the playoffs ultimately. Even though I've highlighted that he's had games where he's come up big in the playoffs, but that's we're just talking about the narrative, narratively. But yeah, same thing with Paul George. Injury history has a narrative of coming up short in the playoffs. Is this another James Harden type move? That's the ultimate question. Because if it is, yeah, Sixers, sorry, you're gonna lose once again in the second round. But yeah, go ahead with your point, KJ.
I think you just sparked an idea with me, because even though these players do have past injury histories, and we praise Anthony Davis for going to have playing as many games as he did this year, though we do need to see it again. But let's take a look at when we bring in players like Kristaps Porzingis.
Mm-hmm.
Kristaps Porzingis has injury history. That's why the Mavs got rid of him. Ironically, he came back to beat them very badly. I'm gonna have to start calling him for first quarter P. But yeah, he came in and then showed that he could stay healthy. Well, for the most part, stay healthy. He didn't play really. They didn't really need him in the finals, but you know what I'm saying. And I'm coupling that with Jason Tatum and how we say he can't never show up at a big game, even though he kind of didn't need that because Jaylen Brown did that for him. It's really a team effort, but I'm saying that, like, I'm thinking maybe Paul George can come in and have this similar type of success in that type of way. But yeah, they're definitely one of the three, probably third because of the injury histories. But the team who I think is number two, who've been making some moves in this offseason as well, they've been doing it big in the New York Knicks.
Definitely, man. Like, they've been making a lot of good moves, and let's go ahead and talk about that one big move that they have made in basically trading. Well, two big moves actually, but the first one is they traded for Miles Bridges. So how did you feel about that Miles Bridges trade? Because a lot of people are saying that they gave up a lot for him.
They traded up Mikal Bridges, not Miles.
Sorry, Mikal Bridges. Sorry. Whoa! Not that one. Sorry, Mikal Bridges.
But I mean, did they really? They're in play now mode. They really could have went to the finals if they didn't give out of gas and everybody was healthy. So they're bringing in a player with a whole bunch of gas and a whole bunch of health. He was I don't even think he's missed a game. If he did, there was like his first 3 years in the league, he didn't miss a game.
Nope.
Dating back to maybe high school. Before then, I don't know, but yeah, he definitely missed the Iron Man. And he's a good player. Like, he averages 9, 5, and 3. So you're bringing that into a team of players who also
19. You said not.
Huh?
Like, he said 9, 5, and 3 or 19?
19, 5, and 3. I apologize. He's averaging 19, 5, and 3. So you're bringing that into a team of players who are really averaging anywhere from 17 to 23. So they're all playing, again, more team-oriented basketball. And did they give up too much? Absolutely, I don't think they gave up too much. Because the only thing if they're in win-now mode, the only thing that they gave up was 4 first-round picks, a pick swap, a number 1 pick swap, and then a second-round pick. Then they gave up Bogdanovich, who's aging, and they didn't really use him anyway. So you're bringing in Mikal Bridges and really reassembling the 2016 Villanova champions with Bridges, DiVincenzo, Hart, and Brunson. More continuity, more team ball. Man, I love it.
Yeah. How do I feel about this Mikal Bridges trade? when it first happened, I was like, because I'm going to talk about both of their moves in simultaneously. Because the thing is, I believe that this move would only, I feel like it would only be a good move, in my opinion, if they retained, that they were able to retain OG and Anu. Because if you traded for Mikal, but you ended up having to basically get rid of OG, then this was a bad move. But the thing is, they were able to keep him. So now this has a difference. Now I think this is a good trade for the Knicks. It is. Yes, like you said, KJ. Yes, they gave up a lot. However, in people's mind, is like Mikal Bridges is not a superstar. He's borderline all-star maybe, but he's all-star, borderline all-star level player. But he's not like the haul that you give up for him. You give up for a superstar, but we see with the Clippers, they give up a lot for Paul George, and I guess people are feeling like this trade may end up being like the Paul George trade with the Clippers. How now that trade is looking like the worst trade in the history of the NBA, and people are afraid now this trade might bear some of those same type of fruits, except bad fruits for the Knicks. So, but I'm still going to look at this as glass half full. I think this is a good trade for the Knicks, and also because they were able to retain OG Anunoby. Now you've got a really, really scary team. Yes, did you lose Hartenstein, which might be a little bit bigger loss than what people actually. But I think with the big men they already have in Randall and Robinson, and I forgot who else. But I think they'll, and I think they're getting another. I think they drafted another big man. I don't know if they did or not, but either way, I like what the Knicks have. I like that nucleus that they have. They can now do what the Celtics can do. They can put 5 guys on the floor at one time that can dribble, pass, and shoot. And I mean, that's the way the NBA is going anyway, because versatility is now key. Not just versatility on the offense, but versatility on the defense as well. And them getting Mikal Bridges gives them that versatility on offense and defense. Now you got 5 guys on the court that can dribble, pass, and shoot. You can't have at one time. And now you got 5 guys, and now you'll be able to compete with the Celtics. So yeah, overall, good trade. Speaking of, I just talked about the Hartenstein. Guess what team he went to? He went to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So we also talked about how they traded straight up for Alex Caruso. So KJ, with these 2 moves, them getting Hartenstein and them trading for the OKC trading for Caruso. Does this make them the best team in the West, like by far?
No. No. Record wise, nah. I mean, seed wise, nah. But it definitely makes them maybe one of the more scarier teams, if not the most scary team. Because yes, you have the Mavs. Yes, you have the Timberwolves. I think the Nuggets are going to take a little step back because they lost yet some more pieces. But I mean, I know one thing for sure. Yes. This stabilizes everything on their team. Like you bringing in Hartenstein and Caruso onto a team who was already a top defensive team, and you're bringing in a guard who has veteran championship pedigree and plays defense, pairing him to do it all superstar point guard with the upside of your 3 and Jalen Williams. Then you have then you have Hartenstein at your four anchoring everything down, and so you're able to slide your big 7-footer Chet to the four. I don't know. I don't know if I can name a better. I don't know if I can name a more cohesive starting five. This definitely makes them the most cohesive team in the West. I'll say that.
I like this. I really like this move. Do I believe it makes them the best team in the West? I don't know. I've got to see. I've got to see. Uh, I think it makes them favorites to come out. Uh, I would have to see. I do like what OKC have, like that young core. Now you add a guy. You had Josh Giddey was not doing it for you, especially because he needed the ball in his hands. He needed to be the primary ball handler, and you already have a primary ball handler in SGA, so you don't really need Josh Giddey, especially because he doesn't give you a shooting threat, and that's really what you need. So then SGA has more room to operate, and guess what? Alex Caruso does that for you. So yeah, now and then also you added Hartenstein, who's yes, does he add a shooting to you? No, but he has like I said, tough. He's a tough interior presence, and also he's a people really don't realize how good of a passer he actually is. So just imagine, all the passes he'll able to pass out of double teams, pass out of the post, and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm not going to say best team in the West. Once again, I just have to see because there's still other moves that other teams can make, and so give me about like a couple weeks into really stew over it, and I'll probably would have a solid answer after that. But speaking of our rankings, let's get into. Actually, before that, one last move I want to talk about real quick before we get into our too early rankings is CP3 going to the Spurs. Now, you heard me highlight it a little bit earlier in the podcast, but we're going to talk just a little bit more about it. So, KJ, how did you feel about CP3 going to the Spurs?
Really, everything that we said earlier. He brings veteran presence to the organization, and not only that, like the same thing I said with LeBron and JJ. Player is extension of coach. Point guard is extension of coach, is what I mean to say. What better point guard, OG point guard for OG head coach than Chris Paul to orchestrate a plethora of young talent, young incoming talent, and young talent they've already had. So him and Wemby, I'm just imagining the pick and rolls and the lobs. Jeez. Imagine what he did with Blake Griffin. Imagine what he did.
Exactly. So Wemby finally has a point guard that can actually get him the basketball. But yes, same thing I said. Like it was all about development of Wemby, and once again, their point guard that they just drafted in Stephon Castle. So he's got it now. He's gonna be that veteran presence. He's gonna help once again develop your two. I really believe those two guys are going to be their two main cornerstones. I think that's what I see with Stephon Castle and Wembanyama, because when the Spurs won those championships, they had some good point guard play. Think of Tony Parker. So yeah, I think with Chris Paul being there, he's definitely going to help. Once again, don't be surprised if Stephon Castle within the next 5-10 years, we're saying he's like the best player out of this draft class because of the fact that he's got a Chris Paul now mentoring him. OG point guard. In his prime, he was the best point guard in the league. So who better else to learn from? But But yes, KJ, now let's get into our rankings, our too early rankings. We're going to start with the West. So, right here, right now, who are your top 5 teams in the West? Once again, no particular order.
I'll say I'll give y'all 6 since that's the playoffs. Minnesota stays. This is no in particular order. This is in no particular order. Minnesota stays in. Dallas obviously stays in. Oklahoma City obviously stays in. Denver takes a fall. They lost KCP. They just keep losing championship pedigree, so I don't know. They taking a fall back, but they're going to stay in. The Clippers are falling out, and they're going to be replaced with the Lakers. And I'm on the cuff about Phoenix because they were the 6th seed last year. What? I'm gonna keep them there.
All right, for me, I have the Thunder, Dallas, Denver, because you still got Jamal Murray and Jokic there. Those are your main 2 cornerstones. Build around those 2 cornerstones. Yes, you lost some pieces, but if you're an organization worth your salt, you're able to keep your 2 main pieces and build around them. All right, Minnesota, and a couple of surprises now. New Orleans, and then the Rockets. That was we did originally top 5, so I put Rockets as my honorable mention, so they'll slide on to that number 6. Now people are like, what about Phoenix? Like, what about Phoenix in the West? Like, you didn't mention them. All right, what about the Clippers? I think the loss of Paul George will and the fact that I don't know, is Kawhi going to stay healthy? And you're running a team, so you lose Paul George. Don't know if Kawhi is going to stay healthy for the entire season. And so you're basically running a team of, the old OKC in Westbrook and James Harden. But they are on the tail end of their careers. They're not in their prime. This isn't 2018, 2017. This is 2024. So no, I don't have faith in that. But now the reason why I say New Orleans, is it depends on if Zion is healthy. I think Zion has turned the corner with his health. You saw, in the offseason, he started to get himself more in shape, started to lose, he started to get a little bit serious about, being an NBA basketball player. So I think he continues that forward momentum, and I think he stays healthy for about 70 games. And we saw when Zion is healthy, the Pelicans are a whole different team, a whole different beast, and they're a top team. They're a top 3 team in the West, top 4, top 3 team in the West.
And then them getting DeJounte Murray.
Exactly.
That's just another guard that they have, and to a bigger point, DeJounte Murray is, I think, a top 5 steals. He's top 5 in steals. You know who else is top 5 in steals? Herb Jones. So they got 2 players who top 5 in steals.
Exactly. So definitely. So now them adding DeJounte Murray and all that, I see them being a top 5 team in the West. As long as the linchpin to all of this is Zion. If he plays 70 games, top 5 team in the West. And now, why I said the Rockets, there have been heavily rumors of the Rockets wanting Kevin Durant. I believe that's going to happen. Because, remember, every single time there's been rumors about Kevin Durant being traded, guess what? To a certain team, it has happened. So, I think eventually the Rockets are going to trade and they're going to get Kevin Durant, and that puts them in the top. That move puts them in that top 6. Now, if they don't, I see them being like, when they seed it coming out the West. But I believe that Kevin Durant trade is going to happen. When? Don't know, but it's going to happen. So now, who do you got in the East? KJ?
Okay. Boston, New York, Philly. Right?
Yep.
Milwaukee, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
That means only one team between Cleveland and Orlando can go. I believe it will be Orlando. Even though Cleveland just re-signed Mitchell to a 3-year, $150 million extension. Orlando just lost KCP, who I was saying was bringing that check.
No, Denver lost KCP. Orlando got him, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Orlando just got KCP, which is bringing in that championship pedigree from which Denver lost. So I think that kind of gives them more veterans, ball handling, defense, and then they just re-signed. They didn't bring anybody else in, but they just re-signed. What's that man's name? Wagner.
Yeah.
Franz Wagner.
To a max contract too.
Yeah, to a max contract at that. So him and Paolo gonna be the best. They're gonna be a force to front four to be. I mean, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with for a minute. But I don't know. I think it might be their time. They might go back. That's my 6.
Well, the East is easier to choose a 6 from. Because we see the top 6 this past year was Boston, New York, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Orlando, and Indiana. All right, that's what the top 6 this year. All right, this past season, just this past season. The only difference is one of them is going to come out for me, and the one that is going to come out are the Indiana Pacers, and I'm going to put in the Philadelphia 76ers.
The Pacers.
Yes, the Pacers, because I think the Pacers, they are very good offensively. Very good offensively. Problem is they do anything to improve their defense. These other teams improved. Philadelphia, the Celtics are still the Celtics. They don't really need to do really much. New York, now Milwaukee, didn't really improve. I don't think the Cavaliers didn't really do any major moves either. But still, there's a part of me that feels the year that Indiana had, not that it was a fluke, but that I feel like they're basically what I'm saying is, for Philadelphia to get into the top 6, one of those teams have to take a step back. And the team I see most likely to take a step back are the Indiana Pacers. That's why. Record-wise. I'm not saying they're going to be garbage next year. The Indiana Pacers are going to be garbage this year. They're not. But record-wise, can I see them taking a step back from 47 wins and getting 43 or 42 wins? Yep, I can see that. And because I can, I'm gonna take out Indiana out of that top 6 and put in Philly. But let's go ahead and wrap the podcast up like we always do with our last second shout out. So KJ, who in the sports world do you have to shout out?
I'm finna shout out my 4-time All-Star point guard, Kemba Walker. No, he's not on a new team. He just retired. And man, that's just another one of my favorites who done retired. Kobe, Melo, Kemba, Jamal, Crawford.
No.
Dang.
We are getting old.
we getting old, man. And for everybody who's like, oh man, Kemba Walker, look, all I know is yeah, he played with Charlotte, but he averaged 19, 5, and 3. That's pretty good for being the best thing to ever happen to a trash organization since 2000. um, and then what I'm saying, he out here dropping 60 points on Jimmy Butler and the 76ers. He out here dropping 44 against the Pacers, whom we just talked about, 44 against your Wizards as a Knick, and then 52 against the Jazz. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Y'all remember Kemba Walker. That step back splash. Everybody talking about Harden step back. Kemba Walker was the first person I ever see do a snap back for real.
I'll always remember him making that game-winning shot in the Big East Championship. I actually watched that shot live. Like, I literally turned on the game like in the fourth quarter. I remember I was in my dorm. I turned it on the game. I think I was coming from class. Yeah, I was coming from class. Turned on the game. Sean hit that step back, and I was like,
"Yep,
bro."
Literally how I watched it. I didn't see anything else but that in that game. I was like, "Who is this man?" Then he got drafted to my Hornets. I was like, "Oh yeah."
But yes, my shout out goes to two tennis players. The young goat, Carlos Alcaraz, that's what I'm going to call him, the young goat, and Francis Tifo. They did yesterday. They played a great 5-set match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, Carlos Alcaraz won the game in 5 sets. He is 12-1 in 5-set matches this year, I believe. Hey man, this man's the young goat. Definitely for me the favorite to win Wimbledon. He won Wimbledon last year. It looks like he's on his way to win this year. But he does have some competition. I didn't see if Medvedev got kicked out yet, but I don't think he did.
That's the real.
No, it's not. And I think my man Djokovic is still playing, but I've accepted, as a Djokovic fan, I've accepted the fact that this might be Djokovic's last year playing, or this might either this year or next year. Like, he's gonna soon retire. So I gotta find new favorites now. But anyway, yeah. But shout out to both of those guys, Francis Tifo and Carlos Alcaraz. Francis Tifo, keep your head up, man. He's starting to become one of my favorites. Like, he's because he's played in the 2 times I've seen him play Alcaraz. They've gone 5 sets and he's played them tough. Like, he's reminding me of Francis Tifo and Carlos Alcaraz is reminding me of a Novak Djokovic and Stan Wawrinka, where Stan always played him tough, and then eventually he finally beat him. And then guess what? I think the time he finally beat him, he won a major. So I think that's going to be the same thing for Francis Tifo. But yeah, shout out to both of y'all. But that's all the time we have, folks. I am MC Run with his co-host.
It's Kenneth, y'all.
And we are keeping it 10 toes down, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to be on the podcast and talk your sports stuff with the best in the business, that is me and my co-host KJ. All you have to do is one of 2 things. Either send an email to keepingit10toesdown@gmail.com. That is keepingit10toesdown@gmail.com. Or send us a direct message on Instagram. That is at keepingit10toes. That is at keepingit10toes. Like I said, it is Wimbledon season. We're also in the part of the month where there's no football or basketball being played. So, for a lot of us football and basketball fans, this is like a drought. However, I'm glad I'm a tennis fan and also a fan of pro wrestling. So there's always something for me to watch. But yeah. we're gonna get through this month, though, y'all. We're gonna get through this month because next month, preseason football, baby. Mm-hmm.
Y'all can watch the summer league. That start tonight. The Lakers going 7 o'clock.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, definitely gotta check in the summer league because definitely gotta watch the rookies that we just drafted play. The 3 rookies my Wizards just played. Man, come on.
I gotta watch Dillingham. I like that.
But you all have a great day and a great night, and enjoy Wimbledon and the NBA Summer League.
The sun is under my feet and I come in peace to compete. I don't run if you athlete. My statistics go up in weeks and I go visit the nearest creek and I get busy. Yo, mini MC, really ballistic. Anybody can see any assistance. Everybody to see some persistence. Recognize I be really too vicious. The permanent beast and the demolition. Bringing up the street. Better partition. Better dot your T. Hannibal mention. How the all you see. Putting my dick in the rap industry. Everybody bitching. Getting mad at me. Recognize Kendrick in a battery. And I'm charged up in a catastrophe. It's charged up in audacity. Y'all fucks never gonna hassle me and y'all luck.